That pro basketball around the world has caught up to basketball here in America. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580. Your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Today we are in Mr. Krim's classroom on Moving Mountain Mondays, and Mr. Krim will be with us in just a moment. But in this moment, I am thinking about the boy who cried wolf. In a real sense, the president who cried wolf. We all know the story of the boy who cried wolf so many times that it was unbelievable. And then the wolf showed up and no one believed him when the wolf showed up. How many lies can a people endure from a president of the United States or a monarch or a tyrant or anyone else before they are just simply unbelievable? Given the nature of the war in Iran, a war precipitated by the president of the United States without the support of Congress or having made the case to the American people that the war itself was necessary, the president, out of his gut and his instinct, like a adolescent or the reaction of a child, listened to the leader of a foreign country, in this case, Benjamin Netanyahu, who clearly has superior intellect and a very different purpose and desire than the president of the United States, led the United States into a conflict that we are struggling to get out of. And the president of the United States does not know how to declare victory because however or whatever way in which he declares victory, it's just simply not believable. The long-term consequences and ramifications of what he has done by this unilateral act of war. Oh, by the way, that's a really interesting point right there, that we get to call it war. We don't call U.S. missiles or bombs raining down on civilian populations, including schools with children in them. We don't call that terror. We just call that casualties of war or the byproduct of war. But if you're the recipient of a bunker buster bomb on your local elementary school, by any stretch of the imagination, it has to be some form of terror. And so, from an adolescent's mind, the mind of the President of the United States, we find ourselves without a mission, without a purpose, without an articulable reason for being in the conflict, waiting every day for what his personal gut instinct says. And yesterday, I think it really hit another level. President of the United States is thinking about presenting himself with the nation's highest military honor. Since no one will honor him for his military prowess and the decisions that he is personally making, he's thinking about presenting himself the Medal of Honor. It's so ridiculous, it's laughable. The President of the United States, who avoided the war in Vietnam because of bone spurs, who went to a private military school, like elementary school or high school, is telling real generals that he knows how to conduct war because he went to a private military school, and that qualifies him to make decisions about your son's life, my daughter's life, our children's lives, and he's conducting this war in his own mind and making decisions that the bravado Pete Hegseth follows in order to support and curry favor with the leader. Well, I don't know anyone better than Ernest Krim III, an Emmy-nominated producer, public school teacher, anti-racist educator, and hate crime victor, who uses Black historical narratives to empower and educate through a culturally equitable lens. Mr. Krim, a Chicago Southside native and University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign graduate, is a former high school history educator of 12 years who now advocates for social justice issues and teaches Black history to the world through social media and a platform that reaches roughly 4 million people each month. Ernest, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thanks again for having me, brother. It's always a pleasure to be here with you.
Ernest, the mind of the president is like the mind of an adolescent. What's it like teaching or listening or trying to train or educate an adolescent?
Oh my, brother, I have so much to say that I think I'll have to dig deeper when we come forward from this break.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're going to try and peel back some of the fog, cobwebs, or whatever it is in the mind of the President of the United States that seems to give him permission to convince himself that his gut and his instinct is sufficient to represent and defend the United States of America. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 with Ernest Krim when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, host of The Voice of Reason, weeknights at 7 p.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580, with a personal invitation for you to join me and Insight.me as we present The Healing Box, live at Inglewood's world-famous Miracle Theater, Saturday evening, May 23rd at 7 p.m. Look, I understand your attachment style has been running your life like a rogue algorithm, and nobody has had the courage to press pause. Until now, Dr. Pacoya McCall and yours truly are curating a night where clinicians, spiritualists, and an all-star panel of Black woman healers like Dr. Shalonda Sunshine Crawford, Dr. Jashana Johnson, and spiritualist Precious McGill will join some amazing spoken word artists and the legendary comedian Louis Dix to diagnose, disrupt, and heal your relational wreckage in real time. Listen, bring your trauma. As a matter of fact, bring your baby mama. No, bring your testimony. And if you're still texting your ex at 2 a.m., baby, you're not just invited, you're the target demo. Tickets are moving fast, so grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before your dating history gets flagged as a pre-existing condition. That's themiracleinglewood.com. We'll see you there Saturday, May 23rd at 7 p.m.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
The joint will be jumping. Ebony Repertory Theater, in association with Big Street Films, brings you one of the most beloved musicals of all time. Tony Award winner, Ain't Misbehavin', the soulful, swinging celebration of the music of Fats Waller. From the rollicking to the romantic, this show is pure magic, full of the songs that defined an era and the voices that'll make you forget everything else for a night. Foot-stomping, heart-stirring, unforgettable. Don't miss Ain't Misbehavin' at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center, starring Lettucey, directed by Ren T. Brown. This is the night out you've been waiting for. Tickets are going fast, so don't wait. Grab yours now at ebonyrep.org or call the box office today at 323-964-9766. Ebony Repertory Theater, bringing the culture, keeping the legacy alive.
Ain't Misbehavin' runs May 21st through June 8th at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center. Get your tickets now.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Wally drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Moving Mountain Mondays, and we are in the classroom with Mr. Ernest Krim. Just before the break, I asked him the question, because he is a former high school teacher, what does it mean to teach an adolescent? And how difficult is it? And certainly how difficult is it to try and learn or follow one who claims to be the leader of the free world?
Yeah, thank you for that setup, brother. I think there are so many practical lessons we can learn from this. I think one of the first observations I make is growing up. Whenever my parents would take me into an environment outside of our neighborhood, let's say to a majority white environment or suburb, I would often notice some of the different proclivities our brothers and sisters in our European and white community will have in regards to how some of them parent. I can't, cast a broad stroke for everybody, but this is just some of the things we've noticed, right? And one of the things I've realized, even when I was a teacher too, because I taught a diverse group of kids over the course of my year, is there seems to have been I would say a pathology of leniency regarding how white children perform in public, or how they behave in public, particularly with white boys. And I say that because in a transition for me could be, we can see how sometimes you might witness a child curse out their parents in public, or maybe even hit their parents in public. And of course, coming from my upbringing, when you would notice something like this, it takes you back. And I bring this up because as a teacher, I always made sure that I try my best to, I don't even want to say discipline, but address every student based on what they need, but ensuring that there was some form of justice in various situations. And I would notice oftentimes too, even as a teacher, that if you write up a student who sometimes could be white or even has maybe a higher academic standard, if that person then goes to the dean, there's a completely different approach than someone who might be viewed as just being a typical or regular problem child. I think the issue we're seeing on a ground level as an educator, to me, is we let, in our society as a whole, whether it be in the household, whether it be in the school, and then whether that matriculates then to corporate America, white folks, white children, particularly white boys, are allowed to get away with so many things at a base level that when this becomes an issue in politics, when you go into politics, go into the corporate space, it is almost a given from that perspective that they can do what they desire. For me, what I view this as is the impulsive child. If I have a child in my classroom who I understand is wanting to be the center of attention, loves to be the class clown, blurts out things often, might curse, might pick on somebody, it is up to me to address that as soon as I can. Because if I don't address that early in the school year, let's say in August, September, what does that become in April, May? And those impulsive children who are addicted to winning, or who regard getting the A as the highest thing, or regard those awards as the most important thing, those are the children. As a teacher, not speaking explicitly about Trump, but as a teacher, we have to have conversations like we talked last week about character, right? About understanding that even though you might get different treatment in different classrooms, even with your parents, you are not, and we hear this all the time towards us, you are not above the law. And I think that's one of the things that I take from this as an educator is children who are not able to get the right or the adequate amount of discipline as children, as young folks, can become menaces in our society. And we know in our community that gets nipped in the bud quickly, because if our parents aren't disciplining us, then we know a police officer, a teacher, or somebody else will soon do that. But who does this for people like Trump?
I am, if you're listening to us on the 405, the 101, the 10, the 5, the 110, or the 118 in California, we are having a conversation in this hour about the adolescence of the President of the United States. The fact that he keeps referring back to his childhood when he was in a private military elementary school or high school, and he's arguing with generals that he knows what he's talking about because he hasn't been to Annapolis, the Naval Academy, or to the Air Force Academy, or to West Point. He was in a private military high school or elementary school. And he was sent there probably for a reason. And Ernest Krim is a elementary school teacher and a high school teacher who is telling us that this adolescent behavior, along with the president's narcissism, is a factor in the conduct of this conflict. Before I ask Ernest another question, I want Barbara Jean to know that I see you, and Lynette Purple Angel Alexander, Tracy Van Zant Foyles, TJ Williams Auger, Dr. Auger, Barbara Jean, and others. I know you're watching our program. I'm seeing you in the live chat. We are very, very close on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show to allowing you the opportunity to call in and actually participate in the conversation. But we're also on the 405, the 101, the 10, the 5, the 110, and the 118 in Los Angeles, California. And Talela Vika is all the way in Johannesburg, South Africa. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I am concerned, Ernest, when I look at the character level of the President of the United States and the education level of the President of the United States and the simplicity of the President of the United States. Clearly, more than 50% of the American people voted for him and delivered him an electoral college vote. And I think it was Lyndon Baines Johnson who said that the lowest white man, if you can just convince him that he's better than the colored man, he'll let you pick his pockets. And that says a lot about the people who voted for Donald Trump, that they are willing to vote for a disruptive, narcissistic adolescent to be the leader of the free world and even threaten the end of civilization as if that is something that is to be looked at lightly without severe consequences. Now, to let you know that this conversation is not out of global context, there are people discussing in the Congress of the United States the 25th Amendment for removing the President of the United States for his mental capacity. For his mental capacity. And yet, the American people have not moved from that point of view. They're not supporting the war, and Donald Trump is underwater on the war, but they still support Donald John Trump. What does that say to you? Does that say to you that the dunce in the back of your classroom, Ernest Krim, is actually the leader of the classroom?
Oh, 100%. I think what we see too, as well, as you were speaking, I'm thinking of this archetype that we have for leadership in our world, in this patriarchal society we're in. We've only seen men ascend to that highest position in this country. That doesn't mean that men make the best leaders. It just means that's what we've accepted, and particularly white men. So we can see him in all his faults on the highest scale, the highest level. But so many people, such as those who voted for him 3 times, they see that as leadership. They see that as bravery and, stick-to-itiveness and determination. But I think about that again on the grassroots level in the classroom, how we will label maybe a white child, particularly a white boy who exhibits, that type of bravado in the school level as being a leader, charismatic. But if we see a young lady, particularly a black woman, we will say maybe they're arrogant, maybe they're full of themselves, right? We nip that behavior in the bud. That's what we are calling on a grassroots level, the school to prison pipeline. But for them, that pipeline leads to the highest position in the land, and that is very scary.
So, I'm thinking in this moment, because I was very engaged with Tavis and others during the Bill Clinton for president campaign, and I'm thinking that if a Democrat showed this kind of bravado and adolescent narcissism, that they simply would not get elected to the presidency of the United States. However, Democrats that are fortunate enough to get the opportunity to serve as the nominee, and most importantly, to be able to compete for 270 electoral votes, since this is not a popularity contest, but an electoral vote contest, that Democrat usually has to challenge black people in the Democratic Party to show white folks that they're reaching out to in order to triangulate those white folks to vote for him, Bill Clinton, so that they don't feel like that nominee or that candidate is going to give the entire kitchen store to the black community to the Hispanic community, to women, or to the LGBTQ. It's usually some Democrat that we have to accept who talks negative about us in front of everybody else. We have to eat it, but we have to allow them that negative talk about us in order to reach out to Bubba and to reach out to the, if you will, quoting Lyndon Johnson, the lowest white man. Do you see the logic of that, Ernest?
Oh, of course. Isn't that interesting too? And it's viewed as progress to completely disrespect a group of people who have dealt with the highest level of disregard in this country. And I think with that, if we continue that conversation, these are things we have to nip in the bud moving forward. We can no longer accept that as the status quo in politics, especially when we see what the antithesis is and what we have got. And again, it's so hard to believe that, y'all, this is 11 years now, 11 and a half years since he, came down that elevator and said what he was about to do. And so many people cast it off as ridiculous, and it was, but enough people didn't see it as ridiculous not to vote for him in 2016 and again in 2020 and of course 2024. And we've seen 2 presidential victories with that. I think what's also, to me, what we're seeing develop too at this same time concurrently on the international stage is Iran is not intimidated by what they see. And I think that's something that is a shot to his ego, because he always wants to believe he can be right in every situation. This is a very serious situation, but even on that end, we're seeing people, I'm not sure if you've even been seeing some of these Lego animations. Like, these are things that are issues that he in his mind can't back down from something as comical as somebody making fun of his pride through a Lego animation. And it's little small things like that would elevate him to continue to want to push us deeper into this war.
Yeah, let me say this before we come forward, because we have just about 2.5 minutes before we do. I was at the National Action Network conference, and I saw all of the Democratic nominees and Democratic candidates who were competing for the position. And I'm saying to myself, in addition to who can inspire and register and who stands for all of the issues and the perspectives that I believe in, I said to myself, who on this stage, in order to appeal to red states and to Bubba, is prepared to insult the hell out of us? And we have nowhere to go. We just have to take it because we know what they're doing. Who is prepared to say, I'm not going to keep DEI in place. I'm not going to overturn what Trump has done, but I can promise you a new future under my leadership going forward. Who is going to watch this now? This is very sophisticated stuff. Who is going to take the mantle of our struggles, Black, Hispanic, Native American, Asians, women, who know that we have historical struggles, is going to insult us because they also know that we have nowhere to go. But they have to insult us in order to attract people in states who want to hear someone who's going to stand up to us. And how will we react, given that the lesser of two evils at that moment will force us to reconcile and try and justify what we do in the polling place as a result? Well, I realize he or she didn't go as far as I wanted them to go. And yes, they came to my convention, they came to my conference, and they did what they had to do. But they did insult the hell out of us on this, like a 3 strikes and you're out program, or, it's some young Black male's fault, or it's our women out here prematurely getting pregnant that's responsible for welfare. There's going to be some angle, Ernest, that's going to come forward from the Democratic Party that we can anticipate, because the expansion of the base to get to 270 electoral votes means that they have to speak to Kentucky, they have to speak to Alabama, they have to speak to Mississippi, they have to put Georgia in play, South Carolina and North Carolina in play, and that the swing states are not enough. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. We're in Mr. Krim's classroom. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward after the break.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black singer David is now charged with first-degree murder in the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Prosecutors say the 21-year-old, whose real name is David Anthony Burke, had a sexual relationship with the teen before her death.
First-degree murder with special circumstances.
Hernandez was reported missing last April, and her remains were later found in the trunk of a Tesla registered to Burke. Former President Barack Obama and New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani met in person Saturday for the first time since Mamdani was elected mayor. The unannounced meeting happened at a daycare center in the South Bronx. And actor and comedian Eddie Murphy is now celebrating a new addition to the family. The comedian shared Saturday that his son Eric Murphy and Jasmine Lawrence, the daughter of comedian Martin Lawrence, recently welcomed a baby girl named Ari Sky. The couple got married last year. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Recall 67A mobile appointments are now available in your area. We come to you quick, easy, and under an hour. Complete the recall to get $500 plus a warranty worth thousands. Schedule today at CummonsRecall.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Lakers star Luka Doncic has been eliminated from contention for the NBA's Most Valuable Player award. Doncic, the NBA's leading scorer, failed to get enough votes to finish among the top three finalists. Doncic finished the regular season leading the NBA with 33.5 points per game. He ranked third in assists with 8.3. The top three finalists are Oklahoma City's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, San Antonio's Victor Wembanyama, and Denver's Nikola Jokic. All three are international players. SGA is from Canada, Wembanyama is from France, and Jokic is from Serbia. The last 7 NBA MVP winners have been international players. The last American-born player to be voted MVP is former Clippers star James Harden in 2018. This trend, more than anything, should be a confirmation that pro basketball around the world has caught up to basketball here in America. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
You better work.
She's rooted in culture and rising in power. Los Angeles City Council member Karen D. Price Jr. invites you to the District 9 Women's Leadership Summit, a powerful gathering celebrating the women who shape our communities. Join us Sunday, May 3rd from 1 to 6 p.m. Registration is open now, but space is limited. District 9 residents receive special priority. This event is free. Call 323-846-2651 to reserve your spot. That's 323-846-2651. Be rooted, be powerful, be there.
Getting around LA doesn't have to cost a lot. Metro has fares that fit every budget. 20 free rides for qualified riders through the Life Fare program. Free passes for students with GoPass and affordable options for everyone in between. Wherever you're going, Metro's got you covered. Visit metro.net/fare programs.
The Joint will be jumping. Ebony Repertory Theater, in association with Big Street Films, brings you one of the most beloved musicals of all time. Tony Award winner, Ain't Misbehavin'. The soulful, swinging celebration of the music of Fats Waller. From the rollicking to the romantic, this show is pure magic, full of the songs that defined an era and the voices that'll make you forget everything else for a night. foot-stomping, heart-stirring, unforgettable. Don't miss Ain't Misbehavin' at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center, starring Lettucey, directed by Ren T. Brown. This is the night out you've been waiting for. Tickets are going fast, so don't wait. Grab yours now at ebonyrep.org or call the box office today at 323-964-9766. Ebony Repertory Theater, bringing the culture, keeping the legacy alive.
Ain't Misbehavin' runs May 21st through June 8th at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center. Get your tickets now.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Moving Mountain Mondays, and we're in the classroom with Ernest Grimm III. Ernest, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Hey, brother. Thanks again for having me.
Ernest is an Emmy-nominated producer, public teacher, anti-racist educator. He has created content for companies such as HBO, Hulu, Disney, Paramount, and the History Channel. Additionally, he's the CEO of Crims Cultural Consulting, LLC, an international speaker, spoken at Harvard University, the University of Chicago, Microsoft, Colin Kaepernick's Know Your Rights campaign, and audiences in the UK and Canada, an author of 2 books and a passionate progressive education activist who's worked closely with organizations to advocate for educational and political equity, reparations, mental health awareness, and food justice. Bro, that's a long sentence right there. And I didn't realize there were no periods. Ernest, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and to your classroom.
It's good to be here, man.
Ernest, can we pivot for a moment to the tragedy that unfolded in Virginia with the late Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax and his wife, Dr. Fairfax, who was a dentist, and the great tragedy that is, I believe, personally, the public pressure of it all, an accusation of rape to about 48 hours before he was to become governor of the state of Virginia, a tumultuous divorce, and obviously a significant mental collapse that suggests, even by his accuser, that the signs were always there. And of course, now we are living through the tragedy of his wife, who should not be castigated or treated in any other way other than a victim of a very sick and unhealthy person who was on his way to becoming the governor of the state of Virginia. Your thoughts on how we, the people who vet these candidates when they run for office, we see them, the way in which they present themselves, we vote for them, we believe in them. But even with what we see and think we know, there is something deeply troubling within each of us that somehow escapes even the public vetting. Ernest Grimm.
Yeah, thank you for that framing and context. It's completely tragic and horrific. You know, it seems, especially within the past week since we've last spoken, there have been so many tragedies and mass shootings. And I think in respect to our community, we need to have more candid and open conversations about this violence that can happen in relationships. This idea of, I think for one, it's important to frame this as accountability in situations like this is a non-negotiable. And we also want to speak to the systems and culture in place that can make our men, our boys, think that this type of behavior is okay. From our perspective as constituents in various states, you know, we have no idea. We have no idea of knowing what a person is capable of doing and how they are capable of potentially, you know, killing their family members. But I think that what we do on a grassroots level, again, a foundational level, educational level, is again, this is almost like a two-part series from last week. We have to do a better job, especially at this point in time in our country's history, our world history, as making sure our people know that the most important thing in your life is not your credentials. Because with everything we have seen prior to this tragedy, we would have looked at him on the outside looking in as someone who was very successful. And that's not to say professionally, we know what he did professionally, but like in our personal lives, we have so much work to do that can't be resolved just by graduating from a prestigious institution or being elected to one of the highest offices in the land. And I think, for me, as I'm coming across stories like this, and I also came across this tragedy in Shreveport, Louisiana, which, again, so many tragedies, it's hard to keep up with. I think as I'm digesting this all, because in regards to that situation, 8 children were killed by the father. It's hard to process. We're both fathers. It's hard to process like what that even feels like or why somebody would want to go there. And I was listening to various Black women in regards to how they felt about this. And I think that speaking to us as Black men, we have to hold our brothers accountable when these conversations come up when women are out the room. We have to make sure that we nip these things in the bud, and not to say that we can control what somebody does, because I oftentimes when we know about somebody that may have had a mental health episode, we say, man, somebody should have checked on that person. It's a lot deeper than that. But we have to realize there's a bigger context of patriarchy pushing us to this, while also understanding that we can't be used as tools in this system.
When I reflect upon it as a result of what I just heard you say, when you think about suicide, that leaves those of us who remain with questions about your state of mind. When you engage in a homicide suicide, there is some shame, blame, guilt, resentments, and regrets that are introduced into the question of why you would take someone else's life or a series of other people's lives and then your own. There's blame in that. Like you're blaming someone else. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be in this situation. That's cowardice from my perspective. And then there is, of course, when one reflects upon the tragedy of suicide in and of itself, it leaves us with questions about the individual and what struggles they were in. But it doesn't exhibit itself, or it doesn't manifest itself in a reaction to people in our space for whom we are blaming for our personal shortcomings, sorrows, or the ways in which our dreams, hopes, or expectations may have been thwarted. And so it's tragedy, yes, all around. But when you bring innocent people into it, including, for example, what we as a nation have witnessed now in Louisiana, kids who aren't capable of what they called in the law scienter, incapable of developing a negative intent. They're just kids. They're too young. They don't know. Scienter. I think that was the language or the word that we used while we were in law school, incapable of developing, these kinds of thoughts. And a father who would kill his own children and apparently someone else's child, and then death by murder by cop, or death by, what's it called? When you, suicide by cop. In other words, you're going to run from the police and force them to shoot you. Tragedy all around on the questions of mental health. But ultimately, Ernest, we have to pull back the onion and pull back the various pieces of it. All of it makes us cry. All of it forces our noses to pucker up and our senses to feel the great tragedies of the moment. But not all three of the incidences are the same. Because at this point, so much of the same has all come together in the lives of Congressman Swalwell. The former almost gubernatorial nominee for the state of California, 4 accusers, pulled out of the governor's race, resigned from the Congress of the United States, seemingly all of the pressure of the world is around him and his family at this hour. And yet the way in which these tragedies manifest themselves have not manifested themselves in this particular case. And so the study of the human mind and its reaction is nothing short of the kind of work that's necessary that is really behind the scenes in everyone's life. Ernest?
Oh, for sure. I think I even want to jump back into this conversation by saying that within this country, the country that we live in, we all are dealing with some mental health battles. How could you not? We live in America, right? This capitalist system that we live in, it is agonizing on many days just for people to make ends meet and get through. So I want to even also make sure that by elevating that conversation, people understand that we're not making excuses for this violent, horrific act or acts that we have seen. I think on that level, like, we have to ensure that, I was reading this article from a Black woman, and Leslie Jordan, a historian, and she was even talking about how growing up in Atlanta, she became aware of, she was always aware of patriarchy, but she saw it in college when there was a student of hers, a classmate of hers who came to class one day screaming.
Ernest, can we pick up on the story when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580?
Yes, indeed.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More with Ernest Krim when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, LA. Tax money is our money. Let's decide how to spend it together. We deserve investments that actually make our neighborhoods safe, like affordable housing, good jobs, fire prevention and protection, and community support programs. How can we make that happen? Join Black Lives Matter Los Angeles and the Movement for Black Lives for the People's Budget Assembly on April 16th. Together, we'll discuss solutions to problems we're facing and make a plan with fellow Angelinos for a city that works for the people. There'll be food, childcare, and great conversation. It's time to demand a budget that puts the people first. Join us on April 16th at 7 p.m. at BLMLA's Center for Black Power and make your voice heard before the Assembly through the People's Budget Survey. Register today at peoplesbudgetla.com. We'll see you there.
58 years ago, a bullet tried to silence a dream. It couldn't. On April 4th, 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was taken from us, not because he failed, but because he was winning the fight for a nation determined to live up to its promise. That fight didn't end then, and it can't end now. California is the most powerful state and the most powerful country on earth. Right now, too many people are being left behind, priced out of their homes, locked out of opportunity, told to wait for justice that's already long overdue. Dr. King didn't wait. He taught us the fierce urgency of now and acted. Now it's up to us to carry that same urgency today. We need leaders who will fight the triple evils of poverty, racism, and militarism. Not someday, now. On this anniversary, let's honor Dr. King the only way that truly counts, by doing the work. Ad paid for by Steyer for Governor 2026.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. At the heart of the Al Wooten Center's mission for good citizenship and academic excellence is a desire to ensure that every student avoids the kind of lifestyle and overcomes the kinds of challenges that led to the murder of Al Wooten Jr. In 1990, founder Myrtle Fay Rumpf opened the center in honor of her son's life. In 2026, they are serving more than 300 students in grades 3 through 12 annually online and on site at their youth center and other sites in the South LA area. The Al Wooten Jr. Youth Center takes a neighborhood approach to the revitalization and empowerment of a community in crisis. The Wooten Center provides free after-school and summer programs to help students in grades 3 through 12 attain grade-level proficiency and promotion, high school graduation, and college and career access and success. The Al Wooten Center focuses on academics, STEM, the arts, and so much more. Join them for an enriching experience that sparks creativity and nurtures young minds. Tap in at wootencenter.org. That's wootencenter.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Created with a share of the 1984 Olympic Games surplus, LA 84 began operations in 1985 as a grant-making and educational foundation. Today, the LA 84 Foundation supports hundreds of nonprofit youth sports organizations throughout Southern California annually, trains coaches, commissions research, convenes conferences, and maintains the world's premier Olympic and sports library collection. They are transforming lives and communities through the power of youth sports. To find out about youth sports programs for yourself or your child, and to get information about the grants and support they offer to schools and nonprofits, or if you want to make a donation, please visit la84.org. That's la84.org. Or you can call them at 323-730-4600. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Roger and Tracy saved over $18,400. Cynthia was recovering from a family tragedy and saved over $10,300. If you are drowning in debt, then call Debt Blue. Debt Blue is a professional debt negotiation firm with over 20 years of experience helping people pay back a fraction of what they owe. Learn how to cut your debt up to half or maybe more. Be debt-free in 24 to 48 months, even with bad credit. With an A+ rating from the BBB, you can rest easy knowing Debt Blue is going to deliver guaranteed debt reduction. Debt Blue offers a success guarantee. You pay nothing unless your debt is reduced or completely resolved. That's right. You save money or it's free. Call now for significant debt relief and a free consultation. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879. You don't have to declare bankruptcy. This program works if you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in debt. Call for your free consultation today. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Farley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Moving Mountain Mondays, and we're in the classroom with Ernest Krim. Ernest, welcome forward to the show.
Thanks again for having me, brother.
Ernest, just before the break, you were making a point. After you make that point, I want to move fairly quickly to the comments from the House Ethics Committee in a statement that they just released about a significant crackdown on sexual harassment, sexual abuse, the reporting process that I think matters to the future operation of the Congress of the United States. And hear your thoughts on that before we get to your word of hope. Ernest, you were making a point just before the break.
Yes, for sure. And again, this is from Leslie Joy Allen. I said her last name wrong. She's a great follow on Substack. And she was telling a story about how when she was at Clark Atlanta University, there was a classmate of hers who came into class one day screaming and asking for help from the professor because her ex-boyfriend was threatening her because he found out that she was going to be studying abroad. And even though she was able to go through all these various means to report it and tell people what happened, ultimately all they did was talk to this young man because he didn't do anything yet. And oftentimes when you talk to women, if you're in a community with Black women and you hear them all, like they'll have people who are stalking or people who are saying they're going to do something, but we don't, for one, as a society, we don't believe women. But then also too, it's, well, my hands are tied. I can't do anything because he has not done anything yet. And I'm saying all this to say, for one, we have to listen to women who have been saying these things for years. We have to hold each other accountable, and we have to make sure that it does not get to that level. The threat is way more than enough and past the level of accountability that should be put into action in that moment.
Interesting. The House of Representatives has just announced through a bipartisan agreement the most stringent procedures and processes for reporting of sexual harassment, abuse or inappropriate relationships on Capitol Hill in the history of the institution. The last week or so has demonstrated the need for additional protections for staffers, for workers, for people who come into contact with members of Congress, that quite frankly, I think is long overdue. Ernest, your initial thoughts about the House Ethics Committee making it easier for the reporting process for victims of this kind of harassment to bring their stories forward.
Yeah, I can only say, like you said, I'm glad that that's the move that's being made. And of course, I have all types of critiques for why, if this is making it easier, why was it so difficult before, right? But I'm glad that they are listening. And again, it to me, it's just, when you know what the president has done and you see something like this, it's like, okay, we're going to hold Congress accountable, and that's it. Okay.
Oh, I hear you. Ernest, we have about 4 minutes before we come forward. There's a lot going on in the country, a lot going on in the world. Young people, I was the keynote speaker at Operation Push this past weekend, and maybe a dozen young people stepped forward and said that they want to be caregivers and that they are seeking scholarships for college to be caregivers. They want to enter the medical profession, and they were wearing their uniforms in terms of their basic internships. And it was just wonderful to hear them give their speeches at the Rainbow Push Coalition. And then I had to reflect for a moment that this December, the President of the United States is requiring that every American between the ages of 18 and 25 register, or if they don't register, they are automatically registered for the draft. And the only statement that I could think about in that moment, because of the irony of it all, was healthcare, not warfare. Healthcare, not warfare. Here's a cadre of young people stepping forward, wanting to contribute to our society by providing care for people who cannot care for themselves. And at the same time, the U.S. government is telling them that they are enlisting them for the draft in the event the nation needs their lives and their bodies to commit to its defense. I think about your word of hope in the context of the students that you have taught, and where they would be today if, in fact, hanging over their head wasn't their ambitions and their futures, but the government of the United States saying that I may have need of thee, thy body, and thy service in a foreign theater of war. Mr. Krim.
I think we have to look at this correlation, as you brilliantly put, rising cost of everything, inflation, how college is becoming so unaffordable for the average family, but also to the accessibility of the military, and seeing how that is an option for a lot of kids who just want to be able to afford to go to school. If you are feeling hopeless in this moment, I understand. If you are feeling pessimistic, I get it. You know, why wouldn't you be? When you open the tabs and you look at a newspaper news story, there's so much going on. But I will always come back to this as a former classroom teacher and lifelong educator, teacher, and student. Find some youth to pour into. If you're feeling like there's nothing else you can do, realize that they are the seeds of hope for tomorrow. I'm a proponent of us going into education, of course, but I also understand that not everybody should be in front of our kids teaching every day. Let's be real, right? But everybody can volunteer. Everybody can share wisdom. Everybody can find their local school and say, how can I help out and assist you? The teachers, the staff, the administrators are overworked, we know underpaid, and they need help. My call would be every week, really, find a way to get in front of our youth, whether it's the school, the church, and whether you see them walking down the neighborhood, and speak life into them. And beyond that, give them an opportunity if you are able to provide that.
You know, I should share with you that legally, women are not required to apply for that draft. And I got to be candid with you. I want to talk about your TED Talk. If we have time, I guess we'll do it. We'll do it next week. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Ernest Krim has done a TED Talk, and we will dedicate a significant part of our time together in the classroom next week on Ernest Krim's TED Talk. It's great to know that we have the kind of contributors on the Jesse Jackson Jr. show that are respected not only in our country, but globally for their expertise in the areas that they focus on. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward with none other than Teresa Hord Owens. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black singer David is now charged with first-degree murder in the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Prosecutors say the 21-year-old, whose real name is David Anthony Burke, had a sexual relationship with the teen before her death.
First-degree murder with special circumstances.
Hernandez was reported missing last April, and her remains were later found in the trunk of a Tesla registered to Burke. Former President Barack Obama and New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani met in person Saturday for the first time since Mamdani was elected mayor. The unannounced meeting happened at a daycare center in the South Bronx. And actor and comedian Eddie Murphy is now celebrating a new addition to the family. The comedian shared Saturday that his son Eric Murphy and Jasmine Lawrence, the daughter of comedian Martin Lawrence, recently welcomed a baby girl named Ari Sky. The couple got married last year. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Recall 67A mobile appointments are now available in your area. We come to you quick, easy, and under an hour. Complete the recall to get $500 plus a warranty worth thousands. Schedule today at CumminsRecall.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Lakers star Luka Doncic has been eliminated from contention for the NBA's Most Valuable Player award. Doncic, the NBA's leading scorer, failed to get enough votes to finish among the top three finalists. Doncic finished the regular season leading the NBA with 33.5 points per game. He ranked third in assists with 8.3. The top three finalists are Oklahoma City's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, San Antonio's Victor Wembanyama, and Denver's Nikola Jokic. All three are international players. SGA is from Canada, Wembanyama is from France, and Jokic is from Serbia. The last 7 NBA MVP winners have been international players. The last American-born player to be voted MVP is former Clippers star James Harden in 2018. This trend, more than anything, should be a confirmation that pro basketball around the world has caught up to basketball here in America. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
You have something to say, and we want to hear it. KBLA Talk 1580 is engagement radio, not outrage radio. A place where your hopes, your frustrations, and your ideas are welcome 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Real talk, real people, real Los Angeles. KBLA Talk 1580, the station that sounds like the city looks. Tune in on your AM radio dial at 1580. Download our free KBLA 1580 app or listen live on our website at KBLA1580.com.
Unapologetically progressive.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Moving Mountain Mondays on KBLA Talk 1580. It is drive time on the 405, the 101, the 10, 5, the 110, and the 118. Pay attention to the traffic in front of you, and we are particularly honored in this hour to have none other than our regular contributor, Reverend Dr. Terry Hord Owens, the General Minister and President of the Christian Church, Disciples of Christ in the United States and Canada, an author and advocate for the church to live out its calling. She is the first person of color and second woman to lead the denomination. Since her election in 2017, Reverend Hort Owens' ministry actively reflects the disciples' priority of being an anti-racist church, being a movement for wholeness, welcoming all to the Lord's table as God has welcomed us. Reverend Terry Hort Owens, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Oh, always good to be here with you, Jesse. Thanks.
Madam President, it is well, I know that we as Christians have our expectations of the return of Jesus of Nazareth. But this week, the President of the United States posted himself as a savior type figure, healing type figure. And it has drawn the ire of every Christian on the planet, including but not limited to the pontiff, the head of the Holy Roman Catholic Church. What say you about the President of the United States and his characterizations of his mission as being divine?
First of all, it is blasphemous. It is blasphemous. There is, last I read, but one Savior. And his name is Jesus in the Christian tradition, no matter what denomination, or whether you're Catholic or Protestant or Pentecostal or mainline or evangelical, that Jesus is the Savior. To even indicate that one occupies the same position and aligns oneself with divinity just speaks to a human arrogance that is I'm not sure if there's any farther we can go with human arrogance than to portray ourselves as being on the same level as the holy. And if in fact this is who one believes oneself to be, then one's actions need to align with that. And I dare say that what he's done has been the exact opposite of healing and providing and loving and caring. He said, I thought it was them portraying me as a doctor. It's because of him that healthcare support has been cut, that Medicare and Medicaid are being cut. So he's hypocritical in that sense. If you align yourself with the divine, then align all of your values and your actions with that same divine. If not, it's just the height of human arrogance.
Madam President, Reverend Franklin Graham, and Reverend Paula White and other evangelicals have doubled down on Donald Trump's positioning himself as part of that lineage of divinity. And I'm thinking that while I wholeheartedly agree with everything that you've said, that peeling back the onion of their movement strikes me as one of the challenges that Martin Luther King Jr. had when he challenged in the Birmingham letter the conservative evangelical crowd to engage in the fight for justice, and absent their proclamations that President Trump is somehow a divine gift from the heavens for such a time as this. It seems to me that it is crystal clear that his movement has a theological content that makes it and places it in the form of some kind of occult understanding that this man simply do no wrong.
Yeah, it's all bathed in what we understand to be Christian nationalism that aligns. In order to be a good Christian, you must think of the nation in a certain way. It must be a certain kind of American. One does not critique the country or the president. And in order to be a certain kind of patriot, you can only be a certain kind of Christian. And those two things kind of fly in the face of each other. Dr. King in that letter, the letter from Birmingham jail, he was being encouraged to not act. This is not the time. Let's do things in moderation. So he fights against their sense of not speaking, of not doing, of inaction being the way to solve the problem. And I would dare say Dr. Franklin Graham, his father is seen and quoted, it's on video somewhere, of him saying that one of his deepest regrets is that he didn't engage the issue of race in America as deeply as he should have. And you have a lot of Christians who are hitching their wagon to Trump's star because in some way it is good for them and their organization. I do not think they can say it is because this person really acts consistent with Jesus's gospel to love one another and love neighbor. I don't think they can make that argument, and it's really scary that you have Christians defining that. They've made it hard for me introducing myself. I'm a minister. I immediately am suspect because of the words and actions of other Christians out there. It's unfortunate.
I tend to agree with you. I think that the great challenge here is, while we want to have a secular political discourse about Iran generally, we have to acknowledge that on the ground in the United States, there is a movement that justifies this behavior. It's almost like a control lever in a nuclear reactor, that if the American people don't wake up to the idea of this blasphemy, we can almost justify any wrong in the world, including, but not limited to, the threat to end a civilization. And there has to be some understanding of where the authority in their belief of that comes from. If he's God's man, then he's got the right to do what he's doing. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. I don't believe he has that right. Neither does Reverend Terry Hord Owens. Or when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580, it's Moving Mountain Mondays with Reverend Dr. Terry Hord Owens.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, host of The Voice of Reason, weeknights at 7 p.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580, with a personal invitation for you to join me and Insight.me as we present The Healing Box, live at Inglewood's world-famous Miracle Theater, Saturday evening, May 23rd at 7 p.m. Look, I understand your attachment style has been running your life like a rogue algorithm, and nobody has had the courage to press pause. Until now, Dr. Pacoya McCall and yours truly are curating a night where clinicians, spiritualists, and an all-star panel of Black woman healers like Dr. Shalonda Sunshine Crawford, Dr. Jashana Johnson, and spiritualist Precious McGill will join some amazing spoken word artists and the legendary comedian Louis Dix to diagnose, disrupt, and heal your relational wreckage in real time. Listen, bring your trauma. As a matter of fact, bring your baby mama. No, bring your testimony. And if you're still texting your ex at 2 a.m., baby, you're not just invited, you're the target demo. Tickets are moving fast, so grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before your dating history gets flagged as a pre-existing condition. That's themiracleinglewood.com. We'll see you there Saturday, May 23rd at 7 p.m.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. 10 Toes In serves as a mentorship and domestic violence prevention program. They support, educate, and empower couples during and after incarceration. They assist male returning citizens to re-enter society successfully and to help them maintain a healthy relationship with their romantic partner. They offer a mentorship support group for formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In teaches its Intimate Relationships 101 curriculum at male prisons throughout the state of California. They host sister support group meetings for women who are intimately involved with incarcerated and formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. To access their services or make a donation, please visit them online at 10toesin.org or find them on Facebook or Instagram. They are healing lives through relationships. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Moving Mountain Mondays and the Faith Not to Fall with Reverend Terry Hord Owens. Reverend Owens is the general minister and president of the Christian Church, Disciples of Christ in the United States and Canada. Reverend Owens, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Oh, it's always good to be here. Thank you.
Madam President, let me pivot for a moment to a Supreme Court challenge. The Supreme Court takes up a Catholic objection to Colorado's preschool program. The reason I want to shift to this for a moment, because this is going to spread across the entire nation, and it's going to spread across the nation very quickly. The Archdiocese of Denver says the church-run preschools program, let me be clear, church-run preschools program should be eligible to participate in a state-funded program without having to abide by non-discrimination rules. The Supreme Court on Monday took up its latest case asserting religious rights claims, agreeing to hear arguments that Colorado should exempt Catholic entities from a non-discrimination provision in its state-funded preschool program. The Archdiocese of Denver, which runs 34 preschools, says it is excluded from the statewide program because of a non-discrimination rule that, among other things, prohibits preschools from refusing admissions to any child on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity of the child or the child's parents. The reason I want to raise that, because we are live, obviously, in California, in states around the country, including the state of Illinois. This issue of the rights of religious institutions seeking public funding, but not having to abide by the anti-discrimination laws of the state, are clearly spreading from one end of the country to the other. Madam President, your thoughts?
It's certainly a slippery slope, and if a church-run entity is going to take federal funds, I think you have to be accountable. I think the very idea that whatever your theological stance might be, that you would be in a position to therefore deny people the right to access certain kinds of educational institutions, etc., is really hypocritical. The very idea that the way you think about anything gives you right to bar the door against anybody is sort of antithetical to me to what Christianity is all about. I don't understand it from a theological position, and I don't think they'll win in court. If you're taking federal money, you have to abide by federal laws, even as they're being dismantled all around us. But I can't. This is bigger than just, churches don't have to abide. That doesn't even make sense. Churches don't have to abide by anti-discrimination laws. Why? How could a church make a theological argument? We want to be exempt from anti-discrimination laws.
We want the money of women, of blacks, of Hispanics, of poor whites, of working class Americans. We want their money to discriminate against categories within those communities.
Correct.
So that we can do it our way.
Yeah, I don't think religious belief.
Your own money.
Religious belief does not give you a right to discriminate on people's. These are civil rights that they have. You may make them very unwelcome in your church, or you may refuse to say, I'm not going to baptize people or marry people. You will ultimately have to, pay the price personally or religiously for those kinds of decisions. I'm very afraid when people of faith talk about exclusive protocols rather than inclusive protocols, where if you're attending a church, folks, and there is anything about who is not welcome, leave, because you are ultimately not going to be welcome. If they're not talking about who is welcome rather than who is not welcome, I question whether or not they're really serious about the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Madam President,
or the gospel, or the Quran, or the any sacred text, any religious tradition has a foundation of welcome and love and loving the neighbor. So any faith that is saying these people aren't welcome. Now, if these people are seeking to, we would be careful of people who walked in with guns, right? There's certain kinds of behavior that we don't want, but based on our identities, this is just anathema, I think, to certainly the Christian gospel that I preach and believe in.
Madam President, if you woke up this morning, as Pope Leo did in the last week, in a social media tiff with the President of the United States over morality, over what constitutes a just and an unjust war.
Mm-hmm.
And as President of the United States, you double down on a number of critical issues that run, from your perspective, my perspective, our perspective, afoul of the moral law.
Mm-hmm.
How would you respond to the President of the United States as the leader of a mainline denomination?
I would respond just as Pope Leo did. I'm very, very proud, as a faith leader, to hear and see another faith leader really just stand on principle, the right to be able to critique the actions of our government is a right that goes back to the prophets in the ancient times, who spoke to the kings, giving them wisdom, and criticized their unjust acts. I don't. This kind of critique is really devolving our world respect in so many ways. You could be Iranian and Muslim. You can be Israeli and Jewish. And then you look at the United States, it's American and mostly Christian, although we have many Muslim and Jewish and Hindu and Buddhist practitioners in our country. But to be a leader who claims to have such a close connection with the Christian tradition, we are seeing as being hypocritical to that tradition. And your failure to line up with who you say you are is further deteriorating the confidence that people have in us around the world. And the Iranians, right, kind of are looking at us with contempt. We bombed them while we were in the midst of saying that we were in peace talks. How do we say that we are a Christian nation when we have elected someone who is the very whose actions have demonstrated that he's the very antithesis of the Christian?
We have someone in the middle of the George Floyd protest who holds up his own Bible and wants to print his own Bible, the Trump Bible.
Yeah.
You have someone who, I believe on Easter, used foul and provocative language in a tweet threatening to end a civilization.
Yeah.
We're opening a strait of passage for commerce and for goods and for energy.
Yeah.
We have someone who posted himself as a savior until he removed the post amongst criticism, now finds himself in a tiff with the pontiff.
Mm-hmm.
And we are supposed to somehow believe that we are okay with this, that somehow this is right. Madam President, I'm trying to peel back the onion for those of us who are listening, who are not Christians, who are not Muslims, who are not Jews, but we're stuck on the 405, the 110, the 5, and the 110, and the 118 to figure out what's really going on. And we really can't put it together in our head, except I believe an unchristian or a non-Christian, even though I have no idea whether or not this man was baptized or whether or not he even understood, if he were baptized, what baptism is.
Right.
I'm struggling why he gets to hide behind the cloak of Christianity with the support of Paula White and Franklin Graham to do what he does, which is not Christian at all.
Yeah.
It's not coming through the premise or the prism of anything that we understand. Madam
Correct.
President.
You know, I always say that when people make decisions that we don't really align up with who they say they are and what they say they believe, there is something that's more important. There is something that's more important than actually being this leader who lives up to these Christian ideals that they say they espouse. There is something that's more important. It's perhaps the enrichment of certain capitalist interests. Perhaps it is his own, immeasurably large ego and narcissism. There is something else that's more important than doing good. There's something else that's more important even than the reputation of this country. Something else is more important when people make decisions that fly in the face of their own stated values and fly in the face. If you're the president of the United States, you're flying in the face of American law and norms of justice and protocol. There's something more important, and that something is Donald Trump. It is not the American people. It is not other nations. It's not even justice in other nations. This is a man who has demonstrated that he is the most important thing, and whatever makes him look good and gets more power, gets him more money, he and his cronies more money, more power. That's what's more important. And people, faith leaders, people who hold various beliefs have to be willing to name that this is not aligned with what we say we believe.
Yeah, this just isn't right. This is not right, and it's difficult to criticize the president of the United States because, in large measure, he's hiding behind a theological foundation that justifies his behavior, and it is white Christian nationalism.
Yeah, there's no, and again, there's something that's more important to them than the gospel they say they preach. That's very clear because every decision they make does not align with the gospel.
What is that? What is more important to them than the gospel they preach? Let's
themselves, and the money they can make by the positions they take. And I think we're going to see, as we're seeing Catholics coming down on this, we're seeing evangelicals distancing themselves. Hopefully people will wake up and say, this is not a price we're willing to pay. It's very sad, but people, whatever your faith tradition, you have to name that this particular leader of this particular empire does not align with anything you think or say you believe.
Madam President, let me welcome Pastor Raymond C. Dix Jr., who has faithfully served in the preaching ministry for the past 44 years and is now serving as the Fort Wayne, Indiana area as senior pastor of the Pilgrim Baptist Church. Pastor Raymond C. Dix Jr., welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Rev. Thank you so much. And Madam President, it's wonderful to meet you and to be a part of this program on today.
Pastor Dix, we have about 2 minutes before we come forward. You know the routine here. Help us understand how Donald Trump is getting away with hiding behind white evangelicalism to essentially reshape the world order and his unbridled greed and what it represents. We have about a minute and a half before we move forward.
I would argue that the reshaping of what is defined as Christianity started long before Donald Trump came on the scene. Many writers have said that the cultural war that Christians engaged in all the way back to the 1950s, somehow that war has been lost. And it's been lost maybe for a lot of reasons, that we begin to look at things other than our theology as more important to the function of Christians. So Christianity became defined as pretty much anything anybody wanted it to be, and white nationalism or Christian nationalism is a iteration of that. I think that the church in general has a fundamental responsibility to get back to what our biblical mandates are. And Donald Trump, simply being the person that he is, took advantage of a church that had lost its way. It was drifting before him, and then he took advantage in the worst of us in the Christian community and made it seem like that was the mainstream Christian community through his words, his thoughts, and he got some people to go along with it.
It's clear that they used each other. I can say this. Some of you might be saying on these highways in California, well, what does this have to do with the price of tea in China? It has everything to do with the price of tea in China. It has everything to do with the price of gasoline. It has everything to do with the threatening to end a civilization. It has everything to do with our young men and women by 18 or 18 to 25 could very well be forced to conscript, to be part of a draft as early as December. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. If you love your sons, you're paying attention to this program today. More when we come back on KBLA 1580 when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Police in Louisiana say the investigation into Sunday's mass shooting is still ongoing. Shreveport Police Chief Wayne Smith says 8 children were killed and 2 adults were wounded in what appears to have started as a domestic violence incident.
The caller stated that they were on top of a house.
Smith called it one of the worst days in the city's history. The suspected gunman was killed by police after a brief chase. Black Washington, D.C. mayoral candidate Kenyon McDuffie says his family is receiving threats over his refusal to let a rideshare company operate in the city. McDuffie says his daughter got an anonymous text threatening his life if he did not allow Empower to operate in D.C. And a federal judge has blocked the Nexstar Tegna merger for now in a win for states challenging the deal. 8 attorneys general, including Black New York Attorney General Letitia James, joined DirecTV in the antitrust law. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Recall 67A mobile appointments are now available in your area. We come to you quick, easy, and under an hour. Complete the recall to get $500 plus a warranty worth thousands. Schedule today at CumminsRecall.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Lakers star Luka Doncic has been eliminated from contention for the NBA's Most Valuable Player award. Doncic, the NBA's leading scorer, failed to get enough votes to finish among the top 3 finalists. Doncic finished the regular season leading the NBA with 33.5 points per game. He ranked 3rd in assists with 8.3. The top 3 finalists are Oklahoma City's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, San Antonio's Victor Wembanyama, and Denver's Nikola Jokic. All 3 are international players. SGA is from Canada, Wembanyama is from France, and Jokic is from Serbia. The last 7 NBA MVP winners have been international players. The last American-born player to be voted MVP is former Clippers star James Harden in 2018. This trend, more than anything, should be a confirmation that pro basketball around the world has caught up to basketball here in America. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580. Your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically progressive.
Stay informed with 24/7 power outage alerts from LADWP delivered straight to your phone or email when an outage occurs. Get notified when there's a major outage and again when your power is restored. Track up to 3 neighborhoods, like your home, your workplace, even a family member's. Stay connected. Stay informed. Sign up at ladwp.com/outage alert. That's ladwp.com/outage alert. Sign up today at ladwp.com/outage alert.
You better work. She's rooted in culture and rising in power. Los Angeles City Council member Karen D. Price Jr. invites you to the District 9 Women's Leadership Summit, a powerful gathering celebrating the women who shape our communities. Join us Sunday, May 3rd from 1 to 6 p.m. Registration is open now, but space is limited. District 9 residents receive special priority. This event is free. Call 323-846-2651 to reserve your spot. That's 323-846-2651. Be rooted, be powerful, be there.
The joint will be jumping. Ebony Repertory Theater, in association with Big Street Films, brings you one of the most beloved musicals of all time. Tony Award winner, Ain't Misbehavin'. The soulful, swinging celebration of the music of Fats Waller. From the rollicking to the romantic, this show is pure magic, full of the songs that defined an era and the voices that'll make you forget everything else for a night. Foot stomping, heart stirring, unforgettable. Don't miss Ain't Misbehavin' at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center, starring Lettucey, directed by Ren T. Brown. This is the night out you've been waiting for. Tickets are going fast, so don't wait. Grab yours now at ebonyrep.org or call the box office today at 323-964-9766. Ebony Repertory Theater, bringing the culture, keeping the legacy alive.
Ain't Misbehavin' runs May 21st through June 8th at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center. Get your tickets now.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. In this hour, we are moving huge mountains on this Monday, The Faith Not to Fall, with Reverend Terry Hord Owens, our regular contributor. Reverend Owens, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Good to be with you as always.
And Pastor Raymond C. Dix Jr., who has served faithfully as a pastor in Fort Wayne, Indiana, the senior pastor of the Pilgrim Baptist Church. He comes with over 30 years of pastoral experience, with much of it being urban inner city ministry. Pastor Dix, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
I want to talk about a couple of issues that the producer has placed in front of me, but just before I do, I want to talk about DEI for a minute. And the reason I want to make this shift, because I believe, and I know for a fact, that my father was making this shift from fighting for diversity, equity, and inclusion as a racial moral imperative, because we have a right to be included in every single element, factor, stage of American life and development, corporate, private, public, every sector where there are no African Americans, no women, no Hispanics, no Native Americans. There is a problem of historic discrimination, from the Pentagon to the Department of Education. That's Jesse Jackson. But Madam President and Pastor Dix, my dad would also be challenging corporate America to support Black businesses, not on the basis solely of diversity, equity, and inclusion, but because it made sense in terms of market share. There are 5 African American owned radio stations in the United States where talk radio occurs, including KBLA Talk 1580. We don't need to make a diversity, equity, and inclusion argument. The argument we need to make is if you want to talk to Black LA and Black Chicago, and you want to speak to Harlem, and you want to speak to Houston, and you want to speak to Atlanta, Georgia, we are market that matters, not because of our colors, but our color obviously is a significant factor in it. Play with us on the basis of our market share. For example, at LAX in Washington, I believe Nigerian Airways lands there, and obviously United and American land there, and so does South African Airlines. They land there. Speak to us through commercial appeal because we fly your planes. Don't ignore us, not because we are DEI, but because we fly on your plane, and we probably represent a significant percentage of passengers on your planes, which keep you afloat. How about shifting the argument, Madam President, from diversity, equity, and inclusion as a moral basis for approaching corporate America, but looking at the business basis for approaching a corporate America, simply because we represent market share and we already contribute to the successful and financial health of your entity or your company. Madam President, and then Pastor Dix.
Well, it is good business. In my corporate days, you'd watch the different activities to use minority and women-owned suppliers for a lot of good things. And even internally, corporate culture was built saying, this is just good business for us to do this. I think of the Black advertising move going from the Black advertising agency here in Chicago, where he got people to understand that Black people are going to McDonald's, sir. So you need to be attracting them, and it's good business for you to reach out to those communities. I think now we have simply removed the moral imperative almost completely, so that companies understand, if I'm not morally going to be held accountable by the government's not coming after me. They've basically eradicated any of the EEO and Equal Employment and Civil Rights Division work that's happening in the Department of Justice. So this administration and this movement of civil leadership has removed both the moral and the profit imperative for people to say, you don't have to do it. And what's rising to the top is the fact that a lot of people never really wanted to do it or understood. The fact that there are people who were more afraid of losing federal money and federal business than doing the right thing lets you know that the moral piece was never as important to them as the other things.
Pastor Dix, I'd like to know, there's got to be McDonald's dealers in Los Angeles, in Chicago, in Atlanta, in Houston, Texas, in Washington, D.C., in New York City. We are market share, and they've got to have an advertising budget for reaching out to market share, not to DEI, but market share.
Mm-hmm.
And hence, here we sit. What am I missing here, Pastor Dix? I'm sure that's true of General Motors, Ford, Tesla. I'm sure of every single entity, every grocery store. They ought to be advertising with us, not on the basis of DEI, but because on the basis of market share.
Yes, and I'll say this: I don't think you're missing anything, but I think what is an important part of this conversation is the tension that has arisen for years and years and years in this country when it comes to what can a government do to motivate people on a moral perspective in the first place. What a law can say to you that you can't kill me without consequences, but it can't keep you from hating me. And those are the kinds of things that I think when there's always a dynamic tension that exists in that. So what I think this should do for us as a Black people is to begin to say, let's take it a step further. If you do not want to meet our the common sense standard of saying this is a market that you need to do, that we buy these products, let's stop buying these products and create our own markets. I think there's no greater time than right now than to create and capitalize upon a Black economy for the Black community. One of the things that I'll say about the Nation of Islam, whatever your feelings there are or people's feelings are about their theology or what have you, one of the things they did very well was keep the dollars in their community. You went to the Nation Bakery, you went to the Nation's Cleaners, you worshiped at the temple. I mean, all of this was part of them keeping their economy alive in their own communities. We saw that in Chicago and New York and places like that. What we need to do is take lessons from that and say that I'm not going to beg these companies to market and spend dollars with my people when something like Amazon and Microsoft, those companies were created in somebody's garage or somebody's ideal room, and we can do the same thing. And there's nothing prohibiting me from stopping to shop or stop my shopping at Amazon and start shopping at Blackazon. There's no reason why I couldn't do that.
I like that. If you're on the 405, the 101, the 10, the 5, the 110, or the 118, and you don't hear advertisement for McDonald's on our stations, that's a problem. And we eat Big Macs and French fries and Little Macs and apple pies, but they don't advertise with us.
Yeah.
It's not that we don't approach them. It's just that they don't see our market share, and they're hiding behind Donald Trump's anti-discrimination, DEI thrust to not do business, which is good business for them. That's true of McDonald's. That's true of Jack in the Box. That's true of jerk chicken joints across the street from where we are. That's true of who we are. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm very serious about our fair share, not welfare, but our fair share. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
58 years ago, a bullet tried to silence a dream. It couldn't. On April 4th, 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was taken from us, not because he failed, but because he was winning the fight for a nation determined to live up to its promise. That fight didn't end then, and it can't end now. California is the most powerful state and the most powerful country on earth. Right now, too many people are being left behind, priced out of their homes, locked out of opportunity, told to wait for justice that's already long overdue. Dr. King didn't wait. He taught us the fierce urgency of now and acting. Now it's up to us to carry that same urgency today. We need leaders who will fight the triple evils of poverty, racism, and militarism. Not someday, now. On this anniversary, let's honor Dr. King the only way that truly counts, by doing the work. Ad paid for by Steyer for Governor 2026.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project. Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. Because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. 10 Toes In serves as a mentorship and domestic violence prevention program. They support, educate, and empower couples during and after incarceration. They assist male returning citizens to re-enter society successfully and to help them maintain a healthy relationship with their romantic partner. They offer a mentorship support group for formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In teaches its Intimate Relationships 101 curriculum at male prisons throughout the state of California. They host sister support group meetings for women who are intimately involved with incarcerated and formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. To access their services or make a donation, please visit them online at 10toesin.org or find them on Facebook or Instagram. They are healing lives through relationships. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right. Y'all gotta try that Febreze car. Just right, just right, just right. Yeah. La 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 la. With up to 40 days of consistency, all over Febreze car clips right on your vent. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face when it smells just right, just right, just right. Yeah. Breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Moving Mountain Monday. Our regular contributor, Reverend Terry Hord Owens, is the president and general minister of the Disciples of Christ Church. Pastor Owens, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you, sir. Good to be here.
And Reverend Raymond C. Dix is the pastor of the Pilgrim Baptist Church. Pastor Dix currently holds many certificates and recognitions for his years of service, as well as a bachelor's degree in biblical studies from Indiana Wesleyan University. Pastor Dix, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
I would love to leave time at the end of the show for a word of hope from both of you. And so I just want to raise one issue that I'd like to spar with both of you on. Jaden Smith, I believe it. Ivy was recently removed from the Chicago Bulls for professing his beliefs against the backdrop of the National Basketball Association and their support of Pride Month. He referred to their support as unrighteous. He didn't call any names. He didn't go off on anybody. He didn't use any slurs. He just felt that while advocating their point of view, that he had a point of view to advocate that the NBA should also respect. Pastor Dix, why don't we begin with you on your thoughts of the Ivy controversy?
Thank you so much. And Madam President, thank you as well. But I really I wrestled with this. I really did, because I know that there were some legal opportunities that the Chicago Bulls had to take, and they took them. When you are working for a corporation, if you do anything or say anything that would damage the brand of that corporation, as Stephen A. Smith was, so eloquently in the Stephen A. Smith way, said that he just damaged the brand of the Bulls and the NBA, and that's why he was dismissed. The wrestling for me came in is that what happens, and there's a bigger question, I think, what happens when Christians who have certain beliefs begin to share those beliefs in public? Now, we've got Christians that agree, disagree with what he said within our own faith distinction, and that's important to recognize as well. But if we're going to make room for this, we've got to go back, I think, to the place where we say, if you consider something unrighteous, does that also equate with unloving? I know I did some unrighteous things and my parents never stopped loving me, and I'm thankful for that, but they managed to be able to express my unrighteous behavior. Now, again, I'm not taking a side on this one way or the other, but I'm saying that when you look at the word unrighteous, and that would be defined in many different ways by many different people, the question is, can you speak to that and be still loving of your neighbor, as Dr. Hort Owens so eloquently put, that we are called to do that? Does love only include me supporting and believing what you stand for, what you say? Or can I love you and disagree with you? Can I love you and not approve of something that you're doing? And I think that's the question that that kind of comes forward with this, with Jaden Ivey. Certainly the corporate thing is one thing, but the bigger question is, are Christians able to make that distinction as we speak to issues in the public sector?
Madam President?
Thank you, Pastor Dix. I think love is the only lens really to look at this from. And while we all, it is a slippery slope, because we all want to be able, no matter what field of endeavor we're in, we all want to be able to speak from a place of our beliefs without being censored for that, or punished for that, or criticized for that. But I do think we have to build a world where we can walk together even when we disagree. And when you disagree, again, I'm scared of any theology that is exclusive. Because I believe God's love is inclusive, it's limitless. And so therefore, who of us gets to decide who's outside the bounds of who God loves, whether we agree with your behavior, lifestyle, or whatever. But in our humanity, we're all a part of what God loves. And that's the struggle that I have with what he said. I also struggle with whether or not a white evangelical athlete, had they been saying something similar, would they have faced the same consequences? I'm still not sure that a white player.
I agree with you. I agree with you there.
I agree with that too, because we saw that with the former quarterback of the New England Patriots, and we compare that with how Colin Kaepernick was treated. They lean on the First Amendment right to advance their values, and what we lean on is something other that seems to be intolerable by the society. And I don't quite understand that. Mr. Pastor Dix, we have about 4 minutes before we come forward. If you would take 2 for a word of hope, and then the final 2 for the president.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And to you and Madam President. Madam President, I'm so happy to see the book that you wrote. I'm going to go out and buy that. Let me just say that right now. That sounds like a book I want to read. But I think that the issue for us today is, as we craft a world in which we think is, or we want to be loving and acceptive, we must have to, as a church and as a Christian community, look at the best example we have, and that's following the footsteps of Jesus. One of the reasons why they wanted to kill him, unfortunately, is that he was saying some things that challenged the status quo. Now, I think he had a great opportunity to speak against the oppression of Rome, but he actually talked more about the kingdom of God and what the kingdom was like and how the kingdom should act on earth. And so I think those are the things that we have to do as believers in this world. You're always going to have oppression. You're always going to have discrimination. What we have to do is bathe all of this with love, and then also recognize that all of us are sinners in need of salvation. So thank you so much for your time, Reverend. I appreciate that.
Madam President.
Again, it's been good to chat with you, Reverend Dix. Happy to meet you today. I think the word of hope that I want to leave is coming from this and it's slow, but it's happening. A slow realization of people who share the Christian faith across a broad spectrum that come to understand that what is happening in this country is indeed not consistent with what we say we believe as Christians. We don't have to agree on every word of doctrine or theology in order to work together to build a society, a world where all have enough. We could come together to save humanity, right? We can come together to stand against unjust wars. We can come together to attack even blasphemous uses of any of our religions. Had that been an attack against what the president published, had that been an attack against, say, the Prophet Muhammad or the Prophet Abraham, other religious traditions would have lit it up in a moment. And somehow some Christians see that there's no need to to take offense to something that so violates. But I'm more concerned, and I guess the word of hope is let's go and do the right thing, not just say the right thing. I think people care more about what we're doing in the world than about what we're saying, because too many people are saying one thing and doing another. So if we really believe this stuff, we've got to live with love, and we've got to lead with that in everything that we do.
Amen.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I want to thank Madam President Terry Hoard Owens for her contribution to our show, as well as Pastor Dix. We are unapologetically Black here at KBLA. What happens to one should happen to all, but it doesn't. We're treated differently. When we speak up, when we speak out, we are challenged for it. When we are challenged for it, it means that America is not listening to dissenting points of view. And those dissenting points of view do matter to democracy. They matter to our culture, and they matter to the future of our republic. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Listen to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. This is Moving Mountain Mondays until Tenacious Tuesdays and the J Lunch Club. I'll see you then right here at KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580.